What's up there, Fangs and Infernos? We are right back at you. We appreciate all the love and support that you always show to Vampire like myself and Devil, my guy, about everything that we do, especially when we get out on the con circuit like we're at right now. We had a great earlier conversation. We're going to get back into some more great conversations here at PA Horror Con. And we're talking to our good friend Paul, who we have been like hanging out with all day and getting to know. And he's got an amazing like short moving into like a full length that we're going to talk to him all about. Well, first and foremost, Paul, thank you so much for showing us the love and the courtesy about wanting to talk to us, man, about pleasure. Your movie. So we got to talk a little bit about, the Bushkill witch. And let's talk all about it, man. So first and foremost, you're here at Pennsylvania Horror Con. And what was it about this con in particular that brought you out to talk about your movie?
I've been friends with Ryan, who runs the show, forever, and I love the independent film festivals that he puts on and stuff. My last film, Hunt, Chase, Kill, we premiered it down in Atlantic City, and it won some awards and stuff. So these guys are like home for me, and of course, a con like this in the local area is not just a con to me, but it's like a gathering of all my friends and my people. So I wouldn't miss these for the world, man.
Absolutely. So, of course, when you got Bushkill Witch, talk to us a little bit about, how your brain worked on like designing that movie, and you're currently shooting it and filming it. So what was it about like designing it and your personal vision for how you think would work best for this story to be told and then shown to us, the audience?
I wanted to do something different. I love the whole genre of witchcrafts and black magic and things like that, but it's not done right anymore. The movies today, they rely on such big special effects with CGI and stuff like that, and that's just not really what I wanted to do. I wanted to do something more historic, but also sort of have that grindhouse feel of the satanic movies of the 70s that I love so much. So it was a little bit of wanting to do that, but then also there is really a folklore story about the Bushkill witch. It really happened. And the love that I have of history and bringing that into a horror movie, was just so awesome to me that I had to look at that and take the real historic story, spin it a little bit, because again, it is a movie, but I wanted to capture the realism of what they believed really happened back in 1872.
Absolutely, man. So now that being said, so myself and Devil have had the privilege of seeing, your lead actress as the witch with the makeup and, the design of that character. That being said, with what you were saying about Hollywooding things up, what can you tell us about your belief in the value that comes with, practical effects, real makeup when it comes to portraying a character as opposed to like editing and Hollywood?
Well, I think people in general are getting tired of the over-the-top CGI and stuff like that. And I'm a history of effects work and stuff that I've been doing in movies forever. So bringing the practical effects in is super important to me. Keeping it real, keeping it scary. I'm so tired of the over-explaining of movies to where every single aspect is explained to the audience. I like the audience to think about what they're saying, So within this whole thing is a want to make a story that makes people think, and keeping it real and keeping it based in reality, but yet, taking it out into that extreme, So to me, witchcraft is so much fun, and it hasn't been tapped for a long time. So that's that, the chance to make a movie about something based in realism is just too cool for me.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Devil?
and you were saying, with the practical effects and stuff like that too, you were talking a little bit, we could talk about it now, with you putting, to being a blacksmith and actually making like real weapons, where everybody nowadays in horror movies, it's flimsy, it's shitty. You can definitely tell where these are real weapons that you have to use real muscles to use. and talk about using that part of that, the special effects, and using your skills of being a blacksmith and being able to make those kind of weapons.
Absolutely. And like one of the big featured things that is showcased in this movie is a magical athame knife that I made. And of course, it's made with real bone and forged with love. And it's something that you're never going to find anywhere else because this came from me. And it is a real legitimate weapon, most of the weapons we use are real weapons. And sometimes, I dull the edge so it's not a razor blade, and for safety's sake. But in all practicality, they're all real weapons, hand forged, one of a kind things.
Yeah, is that something that because you talked about the blacksmith, is that something you've done for many years? Have you been like a weaponsmith, or is that like like a newer passion project?
No, I first started when I was young, back in the early 90s. I apprenticed for 2 years with a Civil War reenactor who did everything in the same style that they forged in the Civil War. So I learned to do things with charcoal and hammers. No modern weapons no modern tools except for the grinder that I use. That's the only thing. Everything else is done 100% by hand. So, and I've been doing it since then. And I do swords, I do weapons, I look at historical weapons, love to recreate them, maces, war hammers, and then, my friends and I like to kind of test them all out. So it's not unusual for someone to bring over like a giant chunk of meat with bones in it or something. Can you cut this in half? Sure can. Let's go.
Yeah, man.
Just fun, living the dream,
Totally. Do you ever watch any of those like modern shows that they're doing with that kind of stuff now? Like I think it's called like Forged in Fire
they
or
had that
something.
Yeah, I was on that show.
You were on that show?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
And they wanted me, the show has gone through ups and downs. With some seasons they produce like 32 episodes, other seasons they produce 4 episodes.
Yeah. Oh.
And they just now got a block of episodes that they're making for the History Channel, and they actually reached out to me and asked me if I was available in September to be on the show, and I had to tell them no because I'm working on too many movies right now. I ain't got time to do it.
Yeah.
But I've been on it. It was a fun show.
Yeah, I like those ones. I like the ones where people would do it and they have to like go out and really test their weapons while they're like the little competitions where they got to go through all that stuff like that. You get these guys that are like, oh yeah, my weapon's the best thing I've ever made, and he doesn't even get past the first round. You're like, well, yep.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that my friends come over and we do in the backyard over at my house. We'll even hang a deer carcass or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just a good time, And all my stuff goes through those kinds of tests. I've made wall hangers for people, but I like to make real weapons, functional, real combat ready weapons.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
When it comes to directing a movie and putting together a project like you're doing right now with Bushkill Witch, what is it about the side of your brain that you feel you have to tap into as a director that differs from something you would want to see as like a fan?
Well, that's a good question, actually. Again, it's all those things that I've grown weary of watching modern movies, and then of course, anybody that's going to get into directing and writing and trying to make a story, it's the story you want to tell. It's that love of storytelling and doing something that no one's ever seen before. That's what it's all about. To me, a good movie is one that the next day you're still thinking about, and that's my goal, is to make things that are not just the regular run-of-the-mill produced nonsense, but to make something special. And if nothing else, man, this has been the most fun I've ever had, working with the people that I've worked with, the actors, and just the whole process. And I'm like in Hunt, Chase, Kill, and even the Legend of the Bushkill Witch, I wrote it. I directed it, but I'm also shooting this. I'm editing. I do all the sound engineering, all the color correction, everything, and Bobby Cara, who is an awesome dude. I know you guys know who he is.
Yeah.
And he's working with me with the music and everything. It's just an amazing experience all the way around, doing this.
Do you, because when you were saying all these tricks and hats that you were playing, do you play the Kevin Smith role and also act in any of these movies as well?
When I can, I always drop a little cameo in of myself. So, like in Hunt, Chase, Kill, I was the reporter, and then it's all about trying to be somebody else. I want to do a part that when my friends see it, they all laugh and be like, I can't believe that's you. So I got like glasses with magnifying lenses to make my eyes look different, hid all the hair, combed it, streaked, hair, suit, the whole nine. But then I also try to be somebody else, know. In the Bushkill Witch movie, I'm actually playing the demon at the end. So
nice.
My guest appearance is the devil at the end because,
Asshole.
Yeah.
The devil always wins in the end.
Says you.
Yep. So, and, I love the whole process, though, of filmmaking. And I've done, independent films. I've done a lot of studio films and things like that, and I've been very, very lucky and blessed, but now I'm tired of doing other people's movies.
Yeah.
So it's like, I just gotta tell the stories that I gotta tell,
Absolutely.
Yeah, especially when it comes to like movies like that, because you look at like the independent guys. Even look at like like Damien and those guys with the Terrifier. Independent film that blew up more than what you would expect. Even like the Blair Witch movie. You go to independent, it's still the biggest grossest independent film ever made, from how much money they spent to how much money it's made. So it's cool to see that, like, it's like, when you're doing these independent films, it's like, you're grinding and you're hoping, you can get this and stuff like that. But it's still cool that horror is getting that little bit of nod where you can still give guys like that, guys like you, that you never know. I mean, who knows? There could be the next project that could blow up like the Terrifier franchise.
Absolutely. And again, you see it with the Marvel movies that are coming out and these big DC movies and everything. And they people are tired of that. They want to see the independent stuff.
Yeah. I've got it real quick.
I'm just trying to. Those are ours, bro. Yeah. Nah, no worries.
Oh no, they're good.
No, they're cleaning up the table. We were all up in your zone there. The one thing that's also kind of fun, especially when you look at something like the Bushkill Witch, and this is going back to an episode that Devil and I had done back in our first season, is that when you look at something like what you're doing with this, and you're talking that old-timey witch storytelling, how do you look at a movie like The Witch that Robert Eggers did?
Oh, I love that movie.
Right, because we talked about that.
Yeah, huge inspiration. I love it. And what I really appreciate about that is he told the story as it was told back then. I mean, that's the most historical account of what they believed witches were. And awesome. Absolutely love it. One of my favorite Halloween movies. Black Phillip.
My neighbor's got a black goat now. I'm always like, it's Black Phillip. I want to steal him so bad.
I bought the little Funko they did so fast. I was like, I have to have this.
That's a huge inspiration to me. And again, loved that movie so much. So that is a big part of it, to bring that element that he captured. And of course, ours is a lot different. Nothing at all like that,
Yeah.
But it's the inspiration that it makes you want to do it,
No, absolutely. Like, my only real thing, and this was something I discussed back when we had the episode and The Witch was featured on, it was like my only real problem, and again, it wasn't specifically about the cast, because I thought they did an amazing job, but I'm actually from Salem, Massachusetts. I'm from New England completely, so like, it's just stuff that I notice. My only real biggest problem, and I'm a huge Robert Eggers fan. I genuinely love what he does. We might have to bring you on for another episode if we want to talk about the Nosferatu movie, because I've had a lot. There's a lot. We don't have enough time for me to get into talking about the Nosferatu movie. Now, anyway, but the thing is like, the only part about that movie that I really didn't like is I really hated the old-time New England accents that the actors tried to do when it comes to that. And that's not a discredit to the actors, because I thought that movie was brilliantly cast, but that is an incredibly difficult accent to pull off that not a lot of people do. And that was the one thing that really kind of drove me kind of batty about watching that movie, is I was like, I'm really into this movie and it's not breaking me from the fantasy, but my God, it's trying, because I really hate the way they're talking.
Yeah.
but overall, the way it was written, the way it was shot, and the story that it was telling, I thought was absolute dynamite. I thought it was totally bitchin', and I love the movie as a whole. But man, it's and again, because it's such a difficult accent to pull off, it's a difficult way of speaking. Man, I hated the way they talked in that movie, but overall, still love the movie.
We in the eastern Pennsylvania area where this story in Bushkill, the settlers were all German descendants. So it was a question of, do we want to try to use accents, you know? And I was like, you know what? No, we're not going to go that route because again, most people, if you weren't from Salem, you'd never notice the accent. But that few people that know, then they know.
Yeah, especially that
and it's
German
like,
Dutch accent.
yeah,
If
yeah.
you can't do it right, it sounds
Yep.
flaky.
And again, trying, you know, in a lot of ways, you have to take your modern audience and into consideration when you're doing this. So if you go try to make it sound too Pennsylvania Dutchy or something, it's going to come across silly. So
Yeah.
it was an absolute decision to just no, we're just going to do it regular. We're not going to do the Ren Fair accents or anything like that. You know, oh, top of the day, sir.
Right.
You know. Now we're just gonna play it real, and
it's so funny too, Paul, because like you can I've said this before too, like you can take a movie like that live action Beauty and the Beast movie that they just did, that honestly I thought it was great. Beauty and the Beast has always been one of my favorite Disney movies, and honestly, as much as I despise a lot of the live action Disney movies they've done recently, I really did like that one. But it was funny because I remember watching that, and I have no issues with Emma Watson whatsoever. I think she's great, but I'm watching this movie that's based in France, and I'm like, my God, you're just so British.
yeah.
So like, and again, she did great. She really did a good job, and I really enjoyed her portrayal of Belle. But when I'm listening to the way that she's talking, and again, just like you said, like I'm from that area, like I'm gonna notice, I'm gonna hear it, and I'm like, look, I'm not gonna be overly judgy because I get it, but at the same time, like I said, I'm watching that movie going, my God, you're just so British.
Yeah.
So totally cool for sure. Devil, let's kick it back over to you, and then I got one more thing to wrap up with Paul before we let him enjoy the rest of his evening.
Oh yeah. So when it comes to like, you know, when you're writing this and you're thinking that, like you said, you were talking about the old school movies. What are the old school movies that like made you want to make films and write films? What were your favorite movies growing up as maybe as a kid or thing like that kind of inspired you to want to go into this line of work?
Most of the movies that I grew up on, I mean, a lot of Hammer films. You know, I really love the Hammer films. I still watch them all the time. You know, a lot of people they might have watched a movie 20 years ago and remember it, but not me. I like to keep them in the rotation. You know, so it was a lot of things like that. You know, that came from the old British films. You know, weird ones. Some like some of my favorite movies most people never even heard about, like Psychomania and stuff like that. I just love that stuff. And you know, that movie in particular deals with, you know, pacts with the devil and things like that, and breaking your deal with the saint. All that stuff sticks with me, you know. But then of course is like, you know, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I think it's one of the greatest movies ever made. And although I love Rob Zombie and his movies and how he sort of tries to, in his way, like imitate that with the way it's shot and everything, I tried not to copy, but to just let these influences guide me.
Yeah.
You know, so like it's hard to explain to people when you say like, well, I'm trying to give it a feel of like the Grindhouse film from the 70s and try to do this and that. And they start imagining that you're going to, you know, use a different effects on the film to give it a grainy look and
like
stuff.
the Tarantino stuff when they were making that.
And I don't want to do that. I want to make it look like a modern movie, but just bring those elements into it. Maybe, a lot of people did get them because when the Hunt, Chase, Kill premiered, it was a beautiful thing because, you know, as a writer, I spend a lot of time really focusing on the story and developing something that makes sense and is believable. You know, although I love Jason, love Leather, you know, all that. Well, Jason's a better example than Leatherface. It's not based in reality, you know? And to me, like the killers in Hunt, Chase, Kill, there are three guys. Yeah, they wear masks, but we introduce them immediately without the masks because we want people to see these are normal, good-looking guys that you might see anywhere, but they have that twisted dark side. And with this movie too, I wanted to do something where the witch from the past was tied in to the future, you know? So we really created this story, and I feel like it, although a modern telling of the story, still carries those elements, you know, from the Hammer films and some of the satanic rituals of Dracula feeling and just some of that, you know. Most people probably will never even notice it unless, again, just like you said about the accent. If you know, then you know and you see it.
Well, me being the devil and you saying the grindhouse, that's only one question I got to ask for you since you're going to do that. Do you like nudity in your films?
I'm not gonna lie. Nudity, especially on the female side, is not something I shy away from. We did have some of that in Hunt, Chase, Kill, and now this one probably not in Bushkill Witch. We're keeping that a little bit less out there, you know, just a little. But yeah, I do appreciate the human form, and I feel like nudity is a beautiful thing. You know, I've always was taught that. Especially the female body is a beautiful thing. It's a piece of art, you know. So I don't shy away from that. No, sir.
Awesome. No, right on, man, for sure. And bringing it back, of course, to the Bushkill Witch with what you're doing right now. Obviously, you're currently filming, and you've got the short coming out soon. And then, from what we were told, we've got a full length look in the works, you know, hopefully for next year. But based on, of course, what you're allowed to talk about and what you're allowed to announce at this point, what ultimately right now would you say are like your goals and what you would really like yourself to see the film and the films between the short and the full length achieve between yourselves, your crew as actors and actresses, as well as just the fans and the, you know, the horror just populace, the general populace that'll be seeing your film?
You know, ultimately, my goal is to make people think. And again, no, I'm repeating myself with that. But I just want, I keep it sort of ground based to where I'm not thinking too far ahead. Right now, I think about making this, completing this, you know, getting everything done with it and putting it into the universe. And then I just like to sit back and watch. You know, now obviously as a filmmaker, you want as many people to see your film as humanly possible. You always want that viral element where people are talking about it like, whoa, check, you got to see this. This is different than anything I've ever seen before. So that is a big part of it, creating something that's not been done before, you know, and making it good and make sense and, again, grounded in reality. I'm not saying that I wouldn't do a film about a supernatural Jason or something. And, you know, there are elements of that, you know, demons and things, but we all know they're real. Yep. So it's all grounded in reality still. I'm just taking it to a theatrical level with what we're doing.
Absolutely, for sure. Well, Paul, it's been our absolute pleasure and honor that you took a little bit of time out of your day here at Pennsylvania HorrorCon to talk to us a little bit about your films, man. And we really, really appreciate it, man.
Thank you, brother.
We're super duper excited. Fangs and Infernos, we really, really appreciate you guys tuning in and hanging out with us and showing Paul and all of his crew so much love when it comes to his upcoming short. So we're going to see you guys real time and make sure that you guys are checking everything out, supporting them on their socials and everything like that. But we'll be back with you for more fun at Pennsylvania HorrorCon, man. You guys have yourselves a great rest of your evening and stay tuned for a little bit more of what we've got going on. But as you guys know, I'm the vampire, he's the devil, but most importantly, this is Paul. He is the man, the director behind the legend of the Bushkill Witch. And again, thank you so much, brother. We look forward to and best of luck with everything. Take care, Fangs and Infernos. We'll see you guys soon. Horns up. Fangs out.